This episode is brought to you by this year's Explore Big Sky Gift and Gear Guide, a tribute to the people, places, and beauty of the greater Yellowstone region. Chock full of honest reviews and recommendations for mountain town essentials, products, services, experiences, everything you need for a memorable holiday season. Start shopping now at the link in the show notes. Okay. They know what they're doing is more important than what I'm doing. Yes? All right, Michael's happy, I'm happy. That's all it takes. Today, Outlaw Beat is here in Jackson Hole with Dr. Paul Alan Cox, an ethnobotanist and neuroscientist doing groundbreaking research into neurodegenerative diseases like ALS, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, the big ones, literally making history here in Wyoming. He founded the brain chemistry labs where we are right now. Thank you for hosting us.
I'm thrilled to have you
Dr.
here.
Cox.
Thank you. Thanks.
Are we in Jackson Hole because your grandfather founded Grand Teton National Park and now you refuse to leave?
Yeah, well, Grandpa was hired by Mr. Rockefeller to help turn the ranches that Rockefeller was buying privately into game preserves. So he played a role, and my dad, when I was a kid, was a seasonal ranger here. And as a park brat, you move around quite a bit. And my mom was a scientist, so it feels like home to me. But
It's just a nice place to be, and now you've created this scientific compound around you.
yeah, but it's almost scientists, really. We were looking, our laboratory started in Kauai, which was fun, and then TSA got a little bit nervous about human brains going through the security line, and Air Liquide stopped flying in liquid nitrogen, so we knew we had to come to the mainland. So we looked at the Bay Area, that was my first job, was at Cal Berkeley. Dr. Bannock has her degree from Berkeley. The regular sort of places. And then they said, well, is there anywhere else? I said, well, hey, I lived as a kid in Wyoming. Well, let's go there. As soon as the plane landed, oh, this is it, Paul. This is where we want to be. So
Okay.
Everybody loves it here.
It is quite an impressive operation that you've spun up here. You're one of the world's foremost brain experts, but you insist on calling yourself an ethnobotanist. No one knows what that word means. Did you make it up?
Yeah, that's a good question. Sometimes I'm introduced as one of the world's top 50 ethnobotanists because there's only 25 of us. Okay, and in terms of being world famous and all that, I'd say our lab's probably the best amino acid protein lab on the south side of the town of Jackson. But let's leave it at that. We're doing our best to get a crack on these diseases. And
Okay.
the reason I wanted people up here is they can think different. We're not they don't become part of the Borg collective that they would in Route 128 in Massachusetts or down in Burlingame. Just here doing groupthink. I want my scientists to think new ideas, different approaches for these diseases.
Okay. Well, despite my lab coat, I don't necessarily know the difference between an ethnobotanist and a normal
As an ethnobotanist,
neuroscientist.
what my endeavors have been to study how indigenous people use plants, and I particularly am interested in patterns of illness and wellness among indigenous people. So when we started this thing, we were looking at 2 villages in Guam where at its peak, 25% of the people were dying from an Alzheimer's type-like disease. Why are these people dying? It was like an Agatha Christie model, novel. We went house to house. Dr. Bannock was part of the team, interviewing people. So we don't sit around like you in a lab coat and a stethoscope. We're out there talking to the folk, and that way we hear things that you might not pick up otherwise.
Okay. You've seen the population that has the highest amount of ALS in Guam. You've also spent time with communities that have basically no Alzheimer's in Japan. Teach me how to be more like the second group.
I wish I could actually take you to this little place called Ogimi. It's a small village on the northern tip of Okinawa. Of course, Okinawa was not part of Japan until I think 1867, 68. So they have their own language. Everybody learns Japanese in school. This little village has a language that's not Okinawan, that only they speak. And it's incredible. I mean, you see 111-year-old people out chopping wood and stuff like that. They have absolute recall back to the time when they were 4 or 5 years old. And they have Nobody born in that village that's lived in that village has had any Alzheimer's, no ALS, no Parkinson's. I interviewed one villager that had a little bit of a hand tremor, and she told me that she'd had spinal surgery, and the surgeon had touched her spinal cord a couple of decades ago. But they're cool people. This one lady, as I recall, she was about 95, and I have a standard questionnaire I go through with them. I said, have you had to be the doctor or had any medical problems? She said, yes, about 20 years ago. She said, I was bit by a poisonous snake. And I said, well, what did you do? She said, oh, I killed it, of course. So it's a whole different, it'd change your views about aging. It really would. Amazing
And
group.
what are they doing differently than what we're doing?
They do a lot of things differently. I mean, in their lifestyle, they get up in the morning and they play their banjos, hanshin, and they sing and they dance and they exercise and do little mind games. And they have their own religion, which is interesting. They get together and dose each other with seaweeds. They're eating 25 different species of seaweeds. They eat a lot of tofu. And so the amount of this amino acid L-serine that they get in their regular diet's about 4 to 5 times what we get here. But I asked them, why is everybody living so long here? And they said, well, it's clean air, clean water. They're happy. They engage. It's an amazing place. But we think that this diet has a very special role in their longevity.
Doesn't sound like they have a lot of Ozempic in their culture.
Nah, they're really cool people. I've been down there 7 times now, and they're just amazing, totally amazing people.
Okay. Well, I'm not from Ogimi. I'm an American. I'm a young man. No laughing. Good. What can I do in my daily life to help with my brain health long term?
Well, the people in Ogimi live in what we call a blue zone, and there's 4 or 5 of these around the world. One's in Sardinia and Italy. I mean, where people have extraordinary longevity and they have extraordinary brain health. So here's a few of the things that they do down there. They exercise every day. There's been a lot of studies showing that if you have a brisk walk for just 30 minutes a day, you have a measurable decline in your risk of Alzheimer's disease. If you attempt to learn a new language, another language, if you build a cognitive reserve, particularly if you eat a Mediterranean diet. And this is a diet rich in fruits and vegetables, very little red meat, if any, a lot of olive oil. And that's an experience that's been repeated a lot.
So walks, Duolingo, Dolma raps.
And be socially active. I mean, and they grow gardens. Oliver Sacks, who was sort of my tutor in remedial neurology, feels quite strongly about music. And they're singing every day. So why not treat yourself to listening to some classic music? Shostakovich, or perhaps in your case, The Clash, I don't know, but whatever sort of lifts your spirits.
Yeah.
And then engage.
More of a Sabrina
and be
Carpenter
involved.
guy.
Yeah. Join a chess club or a bingo club or a garden club, or go back to church or go to the synagogue, hang out. Engage the social and your environment around them. And then what our research is showing is that there's a tight connection between human health and environmental health.
Okay.
And this is something that the villagers down there highlight for me. We've got clean air, we've got clean water.
Based on everything that you've learned from the Ogimi culture, how has that changed your life, your habits?
Oh, it's changed them a lot. Andy Weil was up from Tucson. He'd been at Harvard at the medical school I was there. And I asked him, well, how does attempting to learn a new language improve or reduce your risk of Alzheimer's? And Andy said, well, maybe if you can't conjugate the verb in English, you do it in Spanish or in Japanese or in the Ogimi language. Be socially engaged. I think that's really important. Get together with people. COVID, I don't know about you, man, but for me, COVID was sort of like this 18-minute gap in the Nixon tapes. Like, what happened there? And I think we need to re-socialize. I really do.
Okay.
Go to the concerts. Listen to great music. Build a reserve where you're trying to learn something new all the time. And
I lived in Big Sky for COVID, so it really didn't happen.
there you go.
I
Yeah.
didn't do anything differently. You have lived in the jungle to find medical breakthroughs like Sean Connery in Medicine Man. Was your miracle also secretly inside ant spit the whole time?
Okay. It's funny you actually asked that because I was the technical advisor on that film.
Were you really?
Well, here's what happened. I think it was Universal did that film, and they got sued, and so did Mr. Connery, by somebody claimed
stealing somebody's story, right?
That's right. So they called me up and they said, "You do this for real?" I said, "Like what?" So we'll go down the jungle looking for the cure for cancer.
Yeah.
Hanging out. I said, "Yeah," and they said, "Well, are you willing to testify to that in a court of law?" I said, "Well, sure." And they said, "Well, what would your fee be?" I said, "Well, I don't charge you anything for telling the truth." And they said, no, we'd have to pay you something. You don't know how valuable you are. I said, "Well, look, just make a gift to the rainforest protection." And they said, "Oh, will you tell the jury that's where oh, come on, guys." So they sent me the script. It was by Tom Schulman, who had written the script for Dead Poet Society, a really gifted guy.
I didn't realize that was
Oh,
the
he's a
same
cool
writer.
guy.
Okay.
And there are a few little biological errors in that script. So I said, "Send me the one you say that's plagiarized. And if it's the same biological errors, you're dead. And if they're different ones, you're off scot-free." And when the people suing him found out about this, they withdrew their suit that I was doing this analysis. So I got this really nice letter from Tom Schulman, the screenplay writer, thanking me. Mr. Connery sent his regards. And so I called the grad students and postdocs. I said, "Look, like when the free world's in trouble, who saves it? Like 007. But when that guy's in trouble, who saves him?" I said, "An ethnobotanist."
There you go. To the rescue. That's amazing. At a time when pharmaceutical companies are charging patients $50,000 a year for treatment, your nonprofit is working on solutions that cost more like $30 a month. Is Big Pharma going to burn this lab to the ground?
Oh, dear. Do I have to be looking around now at people wearing strange gear?
Watch your six, Dr.
Yeah.
Cox.
No, I've consulted for several of the big ones, Merck, Boehringer, they're smart people, they're good people, but I just think what happened is that they all drank the Kool-Aid of the amyloid hypothesis. Maybe that's a mixed metaphor, but the idea is that beta amyloid, sort of a misfolded piece of something bigger called the amyloid protein, precursor protein, that amyloid causes Alzheimer's. Based on our studies in this village, we don't believe that at all. In fact, we think amyloid and another protein misfold, tau, are symptoms, not causes of the disease, symptoms. So in other words, if you want to claim that amyloid is the cause, it'd be sort of like going to a train wreck, looking at the wreckage, and we go up the railway track. We want to see where those switches are.
Yeah.
And now it just came out just 2 years ago that some of the key papers on amyloid were frauds. They were fake. The images were fake. A writer for Science magazine figured this out, and all along we've been here quietly saying, "No, we don't think so. We don't think that's the cause of Alzheimer's disease." We think that what happens with Alzheimer's is that there's no symptoms for 15 to 20 years. My previous work was working on AIDS drugs, and it sort of has a little echo of that because people that catch AIDS, they don't immediately start wasting away.
Yeah.
They have something like flu over a weekend, and then slowly it pounds away their immune system. Here, something causes these protein misfolds, which start accumulating as symptoms. We're trying to figure out how do we stop those protein misfolds, and these people in Ogimi and some of the other great minds here have really come up with some ideas on what causes them, and that allows us to figure out how do we stop it. So,
what do you think causes them? I feel like you're dancing around. Is it the cyanobacteria?
Yeah, that's right.
Is it? Okay.
Cyanobacteria we found in the village. The cyanobacteria produce this weird neurotoxin called BMAA, which is an unusual amino acid. 20 of amino acids make up all of our proteins in our bodies, but there's thousands out there that are different. This thing inserts itself in for one of our common amino acids, and Dr. Rachel Dunlop, who's doing qPCR right now, she and her colleague in Australia figured out that this neurotoxin inserts itself in proteins in place of L-serine, which was one of the 20. She also discovered that if you increase the amount of L-serine in the culture media, you can protect neurons, that they stop dying, that the proteins stop misfolding. And I was totally staggered by this. I thought it might be one of the 20, but I was guessing glutamate, and I was totally wrong. It's L-serine. So right now we're looking...
And L-serine is what you naturally find in seaweed?
Yeah, it's really high in seaweed, really high in soybeans, really high in tofu. So
all the things that the Ogimi culture
all
are
these
so
things,
high on.
Right. Now, they might be doing other things, too, we haven't figured out yet.
Yeah.
I mean, they're popping these weird little... They're called citrus depressants. It look like little sort of tangerines. They're eating those like candy all day long.
Okay.
I mean, they got a really healthy diet. They're exercising. They're socialized. They've learned another language. They've done all the things that reduces your risk. But we think that this diet of theirs just might hold a clue as to something that could work. Our previous clinical trials, we've shown that this stuff is safe. I mean, duh, it's in our diet, right? But the big question now is, will it really show in a clinical trial that it slows cognitive decline? So there's a clinical trial right now at Houston Methodist. We're going to wrap that up in a couple of months. It's double-blinded, randomized, so neither the physicians nor the patients know who's getting placebo, who's getting the serine. And we'll know in 6 or 7 months. So, hey, come back from Montana and let's chat again. We'll know either yes, it works, or no, it doesn't. And if it's no, that's one thing that we differ at here. We don't have any sunk costs. We don't have any shareholders. So if we find that we've failed an experiment, hooray, because then we learn and we move on to the next thing. So we're excited to find out if it works.
Because there's no getting rid of cyanobacteria. Cyanobacteria has been around for a very long time, and it will continue to be around. And so we need to learn
Well, they
to live with
created
that,
the
right?
oxygen atmosphere. You know, I mean, they're the oldest living things we have fossils of in this planet, you know, going back like 3.5 billion years, 3 billion years. So they don't mean to hurt us. They're not trying to, you know, but when we put in nitrogen, we put in phosphorus, namely all the sort of pollutants you get from sewage or golf course runoff or agriculture, and you warm things up a little, we're putting them right back in the Paleozoic period, and they go crazy. So you see these blue-green scums on lakes, on rivers, and we've been really focused on Lake Okeechobee in Florida, because we're terrified what's going down there. It's the Corps of Engineers releases water so it won't breach the dike in June, and this is when it's cyanobacterial bloom season down the St. Lucie River to the
Which
east.
normally normal people call it algae blooms, right?
Well,
sometimes.
I don't like that because algae are good little plants. They don't hurt us.
But
These
sometimes
are bacteria.
but sometimes those blooms are referred to
as blue-green algae
Yeah.
sometimes. But I'm an old professor. Let's call them by what they are. These are gram-negative bacteria. But my first time there, when I actually saw a news report that there was this blue-green gunk coming down the St. Lucie River to Stewart and Indian River Lagoon. I jumped on an airplane, went down. When I got there were 11 dead manatees in the St. Lucie River.
Oh my God.
And Martin County had put up signs saying, hey, stay away from the beach. But up at Okeechobee, some of the local folks had their kids out swimming and fishing. One of the moms came to me, why are you wearing that weird stuff? Because I was in hazmat. And I said, well, this is very dangerous stuff. They said, nobody told us. It also goes down the Caloosahatchee to the East Coast, down to Fort Myers and Port Charlotte and these sort of places. So we've been trying to get the people really, really sort of aware that you got to stay away from these blooms.
Yeah.
But the ultimate solution is really easy. Just quit polluting the water. Just stop doing that. Just to stop the sewage, stop the agricultural runoff. These are pretty easy things to do.
Because they're kind of juicing the cyanobacteria.
And the cool thing in Florida is it's turned into a real bipartisan issue that everybody's into trying to clean out the get the cyanobacteria out of the waterways. But it was scary here for a while. We were having people send tissues from the dead dogs, and the emergency room physicians are going ape down there. They actually have now an insurance code for cyanobacterial exposures. So
And I
this
know
is bad stuff.
There are these videos that are becoming popular online. Increasingly, it seems like dolphins are beaching themselves.
That's our work.
And then these hero men are dragging the dolphins back into the water like they're saving them. You have an explanation for why the dolphins are doing that.
Yeah, we
What
just
is it?
published this just a couple of weeks ago that dolphins, at least in the Indian River Lagoon, that are beached, and we looked together with a team from Miami Neurology, SeaWorld, everybody. They have huge amounts of these cyanobacterial toxins in their brains. That work was done right here by Dr. Bannock on that machine right there, triple quadruple mass spectrometer. They have Alzheimer's neuropathology. They have all the genes turned on that we see are activated, up or down regulated in Alzheimer's patients. So our conclusion is these beach dolphins have Alzheimer's. They have some sort of cognitive deficit that's causing them to beach. And that doesn't mean I don't think we should try not rescue them. Of course we should rescue them, but it's a heartbreaker. But here's the creepy thing. It's like, remember in the old days, miners would take a canary down in the mines to make sure the air was okay?
Yeah.
These dolphins are right there in the St. Lucie River. They're right there in the Indian River Lagoon. I mean, there's tens of thousands of people that gunk's flowing past. And Dr. James Metcalf, one of our other senior scientists, and the Calusa waterkeepers have figured out that these toxins are actually aerosolized. So you don't have to be drinking that water, eating fish out of it like the dolphins. You could just be standing by shore and breathe in some of this stuff. So it's scary, and we think it should stop, that all inadvertent exposure to these toxins should totally stop.
It's just a matter of time before we're all going to be beaching ourselves, basically, if you're breathing that air.
Well, not a lot of dolphins up here in Wyoming. I know about you guys in Montana, but yeah.
I read that your new blood test for ALS claims up to 98% accuracy in early studies. Is that a game changer? It sounds like a game changer. Is that true?
I think so, because ALS is a tricky disease to get a diagnosis for. It takes most patients over a year, and so many are misdiagnosed. So again, our team of geniuses, look, the secret here is I've just surrounded myself with the smartest people on this planet that I can find. They make me look good, okay? But we figured out how from a single draw of blood that we can extract microRNA, little pieces of RNA. They're like fingers that play the genetic material like a keyboard. And they have a unique, ALS patients have a very unique fingerprint in microRNA. When we're working now on Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, other things, but we've done so many of these. I think we're well over 1,200 ALS patients. CDC's really helped us out in this. This thing is ready to get out to a diagnostic lab so it can help patients. And our vision is that someday everybody will get screened in the whole country. Fortunately, ALS is a very rare disease, but the 2 out of 100,000 adults that have it, their doctors say, hey, we'd like you to go see this neurologist. You go to the neurologist. And we're really hoping that this works at such an early phase before there's protein misfolds, that people can start treatment early, and starting any drug earlier than later in a disease process is going to be good. So
yeah,
it could really be a game changer for those families and the patients.
My grandfather died of ALS.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It
I'm
could be
sorry.
rare for a lot of people, but it's not necessarily
totally
rare for those of
devastating.
us that have been affected by it.
Yeah, and most people, when they get the diagnosis, they haven't even heard of the disease. So we're pretty excited about this idea of ushering a new period in when we can rapidly diagnose a variety of neurological diseases. And the high frontiers, we might be able to even predict which drugs would work for you or your grandpa based on that microRNA fingerprint. So it's sort of cool here that, look, we're in a cabin. You saw the carved bear above the door.
I did.
We got a moose that hangs out here, comes up and looks through the windows at it. So it's sort of astonishing to the forces that be that, hey, there's cool stuff's coming out of this remote, wild part of Wyoming, but here we are.
How do you do it? How does a nonprofit beat these big pharma companies that are spending so much money doing the same research that you're trying to do? How do you beat them to a solution like this?
Well, I don't consider it as a race. I consider that our focus is helping patients. And that's the only thing we got to worry about. We don't have to worry about shareholders. We don't have to worry about prestige. Crime. And here we are. We ride horses and wear cowboy hats and crazy stuff like that around here. But I think the word's out. There's these guys in Wyoming, they're doing this stuff. The last lecture I went to at the International ALS Congress in Basel, Switzerland, Dr. Sandra Bannock gave the lecture, and people just, their jaws dropped open. Like, it was silence. People just stunned, It turns out, and this might be a surprise to some of the folks that I don't know how big your audience is, but listen from the coast.
Enormous,
Yes.
staggering.
Like the 10 or 20 people that listen to you regularly, they might be surprised to learn that the laws of chemistry and physics work just the same way in Wyoming as they do in Princeton, New Jersey, or down at UCLA. And it's fun. In this little lab we have here, I mean, people come from all over the world, some of those instruments, including this one that you put your tripod by.
I did not. I've been very respectful of your equipment.
No, that's an orbital trap mass spectrometer.
I knew that, of
when
course.
we bought this, there were like only 32 in the country. I mean, it's a great place. And,
Yeah.
I also think getting...
I thought about getting an orbital mass spectrometer.
I know. Well, yeah, put it on your Christmas list.
Decided
But,
not to. Yeah.
I
Got
think it's a
bread
good
maker
place for a
instead.
scientist to always have a chance to sort of be inspired.
Yeah.
And I sort of stole that idea because when I was at Berkeley, it was my first job after grad school. And my lab was just a stone's throw from Robert Oppenheimer's lab. And that's what he did at the beginning of World War II. Get all the smart people he could find, take them up to Los Alamos. Here, we have not only these scientists, but 50 around the world that I've gone to and said, hey, you're a big deal. You've published a book. You got an endowed chair. So stop now. Come help us solve this problem. And we got natural product chemists, neurologists, physiologists, all sorts of folk, all pitching in together to move this research forward. And I'm just thinking if there's a lot of other little new ways of thinking about Alzheimer's like ours, one of us is going to hit. Because we are convinced, I'm convinced personally, that it's possible to totally prevent Alzheimer's disease. Why do I say that? Well, we can prevent it in non-human primates. We've done that. We know that. If you got a monkey somewhere, let us know. We know how to treat it, based on our studies outside of Wyoming,
One
down
day,
in St. Kitts. Yeah.
hopefully.
But then I've got this whole village of these women and men who are astonishing. I mean, to sit with somebody who's 106 years old and can tell you about when they were 3 and 4, it's like being in a time machine. I mean, when I first started the work, I said to this one lady, well, tell me about the war. She said, which war? I said, the World War. She said, which World War?
Oh, my God.
Yeah, I'd be like, wow. So it's great.
Well, you have some of the smartest people in the world in this building. I use the bathroom, and the paper towels are on the opposite side of the bathroom from the sink. It seems like one of you smart people would have figured out a way to get the paper towels closer to the sink.
We have an Australian working in here.
Okay.
They do everything upside down. I've got an Englishman working here. He drives on the wrong side of the road. I got a Canadian who is always polite, even under stressful circumstances.
Like you're blaming
I've even got a
international.
Sri Lankan here, so I mean, no, it's an interesting place.
All right, last question before I have a little game. You famously cherish failure. Does that make you the perfect Wyoming Cowboys fan?
I'm not going to go there. I got to live here, brother. I mean, and we talk about Montana whenever
Little local shot there. Yeah, that's a Bobcat
shot.
fan talking.
But
I apologize.
I am watching BYU, number 8.
There we go.
Coming up against TCU this Saturday, and who knows?
They got a big one. Texas Tech, right?
Texas Tech.
Texas
that's
Tech
right.
looks
down in
good.
Lubbock.
They put a lot of money into that program.
People, yeah.
We do something called horseplay on
Okay.
Outlaw Beat.
Remember,
and
this is Wyoming.
This horseplay is called Candied Cannibal. Okay, this is a fake, gross cooking show designed to give you the opportunity to quickly diagnose some common brain conditions and their accompanying symptoms. All right?
Okay.
It's very silly. I apologize. Welcome back to Candied Cannibal, the only cooking show where we turn real human body parts into decadent confections. Eat your heart out, literally. We're going zombie mode on today's episode as we dig into some brains with expert ethnobotanist Dr. Paul Cox. First time cannibal, Dr. Cox?
Next question, please.
Okay.
Yes, first time.
As I suspected. For our first dish, we'll need a torch to scorch the caramel on our yuzu custard-based creme brulee featuring this brain. You don't have any brains here, do you?
We have little tiny tissues.
I don't know. I need a full brain. All right. This brain has a shrunken hippocampus and a cortex full of amyloid beta plaques. This fella suffered from confusion and subtle panic, sometimes forgetting recent conversations. What's going on with this brain, Dr. Cox?
This would suggest Alzheimer's disease because the hippocampus is the area of our memory. But what's fascinating with Alzheimer's patients is that at least until the late stages, you can interrogate their older memories. So there was one patient I was visiting with. She wasn't sure what year it was, who's the president, but when I asked her what the name of her tennis coach was when she was at McGill University 40 years ago, she knew. She could remember her address, her phone number. And if you ask people to sing old songs like Cole Porter, they sing with their whole gusto. So it's a fun way to interact with them. Yeah.
The way that the memories have been stored.
You can interrogate those older memories.
Wow.
But they cannot. She said to me, "You seem to know a lot about me." And I didn't have the heart to tell her I've only visited you 5 other times. So she couldn't remember me, form that new memory.
Delicious. Very smart conversation for a cannibal cooking show, by the way. All right, next, pour a glass of port to pair with this rich tort. A dark ganache with a delicate candied citrus top complements this brain with tau deposits in the frontal lobes, especially at the base of the brain folds. This donor likely suffered from headaches, sudden rages, depression, and entire personality flips. Any ideas, Doc?
Yeah, we're going to go 2 ways on this. You've described frontal temporal dementia, which is a different type of dementia than Alzheimer's. And they can form new memories, but they have a hard time making executive function. Like, do I shower first or brush my teeth? Or they can't find their way through a menu. But you didn't tell me a little bit more about that cannibal. If it was an athletic cannibal, that very well could be chronic traumatic encephalopathy.
Interesting. Okay.
Which again, multiple brain hits can cause this sort of misfolded tau, again with loss of judgment and inability to execute.
Okay. But similarly, that is a symptom of a cause that created the disorder.
That's correct.
There we go. All right. Oh, wow. We're going to eat the whole thing, aren't we? I don't know why I had written that. All right. This last one is a twofer.
Oh, and I have a question for you, so this is not going to be the last.
Okay. We could either make an almond praline affogato with this brain that's got degraded motor neurons, most likely resulting in progressive paralysis. What do you think that is?
Well, it sounds like probably ALS.
Probably ALS.
Primary lateral sclerosis. Huh?
Or we could make a pistachio cream-based souffle with this brain that has diffuse cortical damage in the hippocampus, which certainly gave the owner constant fatigue, migraines, and general confusion.
Wow, that's interesting. I think you're going to stump me on this one because I don't know. I mean, I might say multiple system atrophy if they've got, they faint when they stand up.
I was trying to lead you to toxic encephalopathy environmental.
Oh, you know what? I don't know much about that, but I just got an email from a airline crew member who was in a plane that was on fire, asked me about that. So let's give me a miss on this one, but I'm going to take as a homework assignment to learn more, okay? 'Cause I don't know that. But now I have a question for you.
All right.
And I actually asked this in a village. I was in a remote village. And before going down there, I'd read in the paper that a woman had perished in the bathtub, that the people found her deceased in a bathtub. So I told the villagers about this, the chiefs, and I said, how would you know the difference between bath and soup? And I want to ask you that, because if you're talking about cannibalism, what would be the tip-off that you're having a bath versus you're part of the dinner menu yourself and you're in a soup?
If I'm sitting in there?
Yeah.
Garlic?
That's a good answer. Some of the villagers said, if you looked around and you saw vegetables floating in the bath, that might be you're actually in a soup.
There you go.
Another one said, well, if you're holding a bar of soap, perhaps that's a good indication that it's a bath. So anyway.
But we are putting a lot of salts in baths these days, so we're really blurring the lines.
Yes, and the police up here will occasionally catch somebody selling bath salts to the tourists, so you never know. So,
for all the wrong reasons.
So bath versus soup, you're sort of a paradigm-changing question that I'll leave you with.
I love it. All right, that's all the time we have on Candied Cannibal. Tune in next time to watch us take a little hot sauce and turn toes into buffalo wings with nails. That's all. Thank you very much for hosting me, letting me borrow this lab coat. I feel
pleasure to be with you.
Feel like such an adult today.
Thanks for coming.
You're doing great work. I appreciate it. And hope everybody. How can people support what you do?
We're a not-for-profit. They could go on to our website, brainchemistrylabs.org.
Okay.
Brainchemistrylabs.org.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
I'll make sure to put that in the show notes.
Thank you.